The screams of trapped residents pierce the air as black smoke billows into the sky over Valencia, and flames lick the sides of the apartment towers. As the luxury complex burned to the ground, it claimed the lives of many, including a 2-week-old baby. But the scariest element is that it could repeat itself in countless other high-rises, meaning more death traps. This tragedy could have been prevented at multiple points. Starting with the construction. During the Spanish real estate boom in the 2000s, the Valencia towers were the peak of modern living. Rising proudly against the skyline, the two towers were connected by a striking glass elevator. It housed around 450 residents in 138 units. The bottom floors bustled with businesses, adding to the allure as a vibrant hub of city life. However, these buildings were completed just before new, stricter fire safety regulations took effect, leaving them with outdated safety measures. This would be the biggest design flaw. The developer used sleek aluminum composite material to give the exterior a contemporary and stylish look. But despite passing initial inspections, the towers were ticking time bombs. The first signs of flames were spotted sometime after 5:30 p.m. on the left side of the building. This small incident quickly became a raging fire. Within minutes, it spread up the building and across the apartment floors. By 5:50, the flames had reached the facade between the third and top floors, and the intense heat shattered windows. This allowed the fire to enter residential units with flammable furniture and wooden floors. It soon became clear that this was no ordinary blaze. Firefighters arrived at the scene of a towering, out-of-control inferno. Following protocol, emergency services advised residents on upper floors to stay put, assuming their self-contained apartments would keep them safe. But this fire was different. The building's seemingly combustible panels on the exterior caused the flames to spread rapidly and unpredictably from floor to floor. People inside were caught off guard, scrambling to evacuate. As for the firefighters, they were faced with 40-mile-per-hour winds, which spread the flames all over the building and limited their hoses' reach. Many people soon became trapped in their apartments, unable to escape through the smoke-filled corridors. One by one, survivors were pulled from lower floors or leapt from windows onto inflatable mats below. Using cranes, responders were now focused on accessing the 6th and 7th floors of the building to get to the trapped residents. By 6 p.m., the fire had leapt to the adjacent tower, spreading alarmingly. As the blaze grew, panic ensued. Residents who couldn't escape in time clambered onto balconies, waving lights in desperate attempts to attract rescuers' attention. Nearly half an hour after the fire started, it consumed the entire top floor of the second building. The intense heat made every rescue a heroic effort. Trapped on their balcony, a young couple faced the encroaching flames with no escape in sight. Miraculously, firefighters reached them just in time, pulling them to safety amidst the roaring inferno. With most of the building now completely enveloped in flames, rescuers pulled back, some at the very last minute. Footage of the later stages of the fire shows nearly every flat burning, with flashovers occurring in many of the apartments due to the intense heat of around 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. By 8 p.m., almost 6 hours after the blaze started, firefighters had cooled down the building before venturing inside. Meanwhile, crews started using drones to search the building for bodies and survivors. 15 people, including 7 firefighters, were treated in hospitals for injuries, and the death toll would only come to light as the search continued. One witness described the tower as being made of cork. The burning facade material was particularly noticeable. Madrid's fire chief admitted never having seen such a fierce and quick-spreading fire in his 29 years of service. While firefighters combed through the rubble, investigators started searching for clues. What could have caused the catastrophic fire to spread so quickly? While the investigation was still in its early stages, one factor stood out as a potential culprit. The root cause may lie in decisions made over 15 years earlier when the building was being constructed. The apartment complex was covered with aluminum composite cladding to give it a sleek, modern appearance at a relatively low cost. Images from Google Street View show Larson cladding being installed. These aluminum sandwich panels consist of two thin metal sheets with an insulating core, and it's this insulating layer that would become the center of attention. At the time of construction, Larson PE panels were a common choice. Their core is made from polyethylene, a plastic that is also highly flammable with a combustibility similar to diesel fuel. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's the same type of cladding that was blamed for the deadly Grenfell Tower fire disaster in London 7 years earlier. The PE panels received an E rating on the EU's fire safety test, the second lowest possible rank, denoting high flammability. As a result, this kind of cladding is now banned in the UK and cannot be used on any building. Even the manufacturer added a disclaimer.
Larson PE is meant to be used only in low buildings. Alucoil does not recommend the use of this product in high-rise buildings.
With the investigation underway, Spain's Polyurethane Association released a statement insisting there is no evidence of PE in the building's facade. This leaves a second possibility. At the same time the apartment complex was completed, Alucoil introduced a more fire-retardant version of their product, Larson FR. Instead of plastics, it had a mineral core. This description matches the statement from Valencia's official College of Technical Architecture, saying that its documents show the insulation material used was, in fact, rock wool. But under stricter regulations like the UK's, even this paneling would still be unsuitable for a high-rise building. As of now, the exact makeup of the cladding and the presence of any other combustible material is yet to be ruled on. What is already clear is that the facade design had a major flaw when it came to fire safety. To improve insulation and heat retention, it left a gap between the cladding and the building. This space acted as a chimney, quickly spreading the heat and flames. But even with these problems, could some of the devastation have been avoided with adequate evacuation protocols? Many lives were saved by the actions of one of the building's doormen, who banged on the residents' doors shouting fire and ordered them to evacuate the building. A man who lost his son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren in the fire filed a complaint, seeking accountability for the firefighting protocols. It includes audio recordings of his final conversations with his son, where firefighters advised the family to stay inside their apartment, even though it was located on the opposite side of the fire's origin. The man argues that seeing the blaze firsthand, firefighters should have prompted evacuation and not sheltering inside the burning building. So who is ultimately to blame? Although it's in the early stages of investigation, there are already notable concerns. The escape stairwells in the Valencia towers did not meet the current code's fire resistance requirements. But this was not considered a problem after the building passed its 2008 inspection and was compliant with the then existing rules. Since it was built before the new laws, no extra checks were required. These shortcomings in regulation turned out to be catastrophic. The building lacked sprinklers, proper fire doors, and fire alarms. Most rooms faced outward, allowing the fire to directly impact bed and living rooms. It also did not help that the homes were fitted with flammable materials like beechwood parquet floors, which worsened the situation. Despite warnings from past incidents like Grenfell Tower, outdated codes and weak enforcement allowed flammable materials. Cost-cutting seemed to matter more than fire safety. Despite the clear dangers, initial legal proceedings did not hold anyone accountable. Less than 2 weeks after the incident, a Valencia investigative court, under a shroud of secrecy, found no criminal wrongdoing in the matter. It ruled the fire accidental, which meant there was no legal recourse. However, in June, another court decided to reopen the case following appeals from the deceased's family. The fire's origin was traced back to an unfortunate household accident. Apartment 86 on the 7th floor had been standing vacant for some time. Due to a lack of ventilation, a leak from a refrigerator was found to be responsible for the blaze. The refrigerator's coolant is highly flammable. It easily ignites from a spark or static electricity. Shockingly, the Grenfell fire also started from a faulty refrigerator. The full devastation of the Valencia apartment fire gradually came into focus as search crews combed through the rubble. In total, 10 lives were lost that fateful night. Most of the fatalities occurred on the top floors. Among them were 2 newlyweds, a 15-day-old baby, and an elderly couple who were found huddled in the bathroom with their pet dog. No gear or tactics could have reached high enough, and the oxygen in those upper-floor apartments was consumed by the flames. The investigation is ongoing. Watch this episode next if you found this video interesting. Please add a like and leave a comment if you want to support the channel.